Hi, I'm Allison Verhalen. I am a content marketer, SEO strategist, speaker, and author, and today I will be talking about 3 reasons why you should be blogging for your business, as well as 3 tips to help you jumpstart your blog so you can start attracting, engaging, and converting more leads online. You all, I'm sure, have encountered blog posts when you Google something, because that's where we get all of our information these days online. Is people create blog posts telling you how to do something, why to do something, the best way to do X, Y, Z, right? So when you look for it, that's what pops up. So as far as reasons you should be blogging, that's number 1, is SEO. Because when people are looking for you, they need answers to those questions. A blog post is the best way to get in front of them right at the beginning. That's at the beginning of the buyer journey. They're probably not looking for your product or service yet, but they do want to know a little bit more about what it is you provide, why they should care about it. That's where your blog post comes in. And if it's effective and it captures them right at the beginning, you can turn those cold leads into warm leads, which is super helpful because they're already out looking for you. You don't have to try and do the prospecting and figure out who needs you, where they're hanging out, convince them that they need your product or service, because your blog is going to do all of that for you. Google loves newer content, so blog on a regular basis, because if something is even just a few months old, certainly years old, it's not going to rank as well because everyone else is publishing blog posts on those same topics. Those are going to rank ahead of you. Even if you do not publish the date of your blog post, it's still, Google knows everything. Google knows when you published your last blog post and when you published that other blog post, right? So if something is on the same or a similar topic, has a lot of the same keywords, Google is going to prioritize that newer content over the older content. So do not think you can just put up a website and have a few static pages on there and have it never change and then still rank for relevant searches on Google, because it does not work that way. Google likes the newer content. So that is tip number 1, why you should be blogging. Number 2 is establish yourself as an expert in your industry. I'm going to borrow a phrase from the Donna Smith Bellinger. She always says, consistently communicate your competence. A blog post is a great way to do that without having to talk to every single person out there and have the same conversation over and over about why you're the expert, why you're the authority in there. Just put out all these blog posts that tell people, that demonstrate your expertise, your authority, your knowledge in a certain area. And when people see that again and again and again, you're going to become the go-to person, especially if you're showing up on that first page of Google. Google now knows, likes, and trusts you. So these other people should probably know, like, and trust you. And it's going to work that way. So it's a great way to establish yourself as the go-to person. So once you become known as that expert, people are going to come to you, so you don't have to go out and find them. So that's the second reason you should be blogging. So the third reason you should be blogging is to educate your audience. It is so much easier to have a sales conversation with someone who already knows what it is you provide, the value that is in what you are providing, and why they need a certain product or service. I was talking to someone, an accountant, who had someone coming to them thinking that they could take a certain deduction that it turned out they were not eligible for, which is always a hard conversation to have because no one likes to be told that they owe more money to the government than they thought that they were going to have to pay, but they had read on another blog post that they could take this deduction. Now, I know it's a shocker to believe that there's wrong information on the internet. Who knew, right? So there is a lot of misinformation out there, and sometimes we do have to fight that fight. But I do think the best way to do that is to fight fire with fire, is to put correct information on our blog and our website and our social media and put that out there so that, again, people are finding that content instead of finding the wrong content. I was talking to this accountant, and she was like, I hate blogging. I'm not going to do blogging because it makes my life harder. But it was making her life harder because she was relying on other people's blog posts instead of creating her own content. And then she had to try and correct the miseducation that had happened there. If she had her own blog where she could present correct information as to how deductions work, whether or not you're eligible, how that all works, then she wouldn't have had to have that conversation because they would already know that before they reached out to her. I had that with a client not too long ago. It was so easy because they had been reading my blog for a while. So when it came to the different packages I provide, I did not have to upsell them because they already knew how much content they needed and why, because they had seen it all in my blog posts. So we got to go straight to the, okay, how much is this going to cost? When can we get started? Where's the contract? It was so easy. And that was because of all of the blogging that I did. So those are the three of many reasons that you should be blogging. I think those are the three top reasons. So now that you know why blogging is so important, I did want to leave you with some tips as to how to go about doing it so that you don't leave here going, great, now I know why I need to do this. How do I do this? So first and foremost, own your own content. I know people love Facebook, people love LinkedIn and Medium because you don't have to do the work of maintaining a website, which I know is a lot of work, but you have to make sure you own your own content. Someone here was just saying they're in Facebook jail, they can't do something, they don't even know why, right? So if you're relying on Facebook to get in front of your audience and all of a sudden you can't for no apparent reason, right? You don't have to worry about that if you own your own website. And it should be a WordPress website. I know Wix and Squarespace make things easier, but again, you don't own that content. You only own that content if you have a WordPress website. That's one of the fine print things in the terms and conditions that no one actually reads. They just check the box and keep going.
All right, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
So what does that mean? Okay.
I have a quick question.
It means if you try to take your content from your website, let's say your Wix website to like a WordPress website, they're not going to let you do that. They're going to say, no, you don't own that content. That belongs to us. Yeah.
Fascinating though.
Probably.
Oh no. So I work with Thrive Business, and that's the same as well with Thrive Business. They do my website.
They probably work with WordPress
Okay.
because I know that's one of the biggest. Yeah, they probably have.
They do it all. I just like send
Yeah.
content and
They probably work with something like WordPress or whatever their preferred platform is. All right, so owning your own content, knowing your target audience is super important. That's the next one up because there are more than 4 million blog posts being published every single day. Millions of blog posts. So how are you going to stand out amongst all that content? Well, that's 4 million blog posts across all of the topics, all of the industries, everything you could think of. The way you stand out is by identifying your niche and knowing everything about that niche so that you can write for them. You can write content that they find engaging and interesting. You can write content that speaks to their pain points and helps them understand that you understand their pain points and you can help solve it for them. You can figure out what search terms they're using so you can use those keywords in your content. So again, you're going to show up in those searches because again, there are billions of searches happening every day. You want to show up in the right searches and create content that answers those questions. So know your target audience and have it really well defined and know as much about them as you can so you can talk about all kinds of things in your content. Make it relevant to them, make it relevant to what it is that you provide. And finally, my last tip, one of my biggest tips is be consistent. I don't care how often you blog, that's a lie, I do care, but consistency is more important. Consistency and quality are more important, I think, than frequency. So pick a schedule, stick to it, whatever it is that works for you, if it's once a week, if it's every other week. Don't just dump a bunch of blog posts on your website and then not do anything with your blog for a while, because then Google will wonder, is anyone still behind this website? Are they doing anything with it, or have they just dumped it and disappeared? People, real live humans coming to your website will wonder the same thing. They figure if you're not really paying attention to your blog, is this the kind of attention they can expect as a customer? It does not look very professional, so come up with a schedule and stick to it. I'd say at least once a week if you can. I know that's a lot, but it can be short pieces. It can be like one-pagers, and you put them up and you distribute them everywhere. And that is a key to earning not just humans' trust, but again, Google's trust, because we want to get on that first page of Google. And the only way we're going to do that is by creating a ton of content, but also consistently creating content so Google gets to know us. It's a lot like showing up at WESOS meetings. You're not going to create these relationships by showing up at one WESOS meeting and never showing up again. Or showing up at a bunch of WESOS meetings and then disappearing off the face of the earth, right? You have to be consistent in how you show up and in having these one-on-ones, and it's the same with your blog. You have to keep showing up. That's how you get Google to know, like, and trust you, and get your audience to know, like, and trust you, because we all know that we work with people that we know, like, and trust. And that is it.
All right, we have plenty of time for questions, so yeah, we do. Yeah, let's go for it.
No one has any questions? I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, so I have a question regarding the length of a blog post. Is there a recommended length? Can you take something that you recommend in LinkedIn and kind of repurpose it?
Yeah, so the average length of a blog post that shows up on the first page of Google is around 1,700 words, which is, if you were writing it up in a Word document, that would be about 3.5 pages. People always ask me if it depends on the keyword or if it depends on the industry, how long the content is. I don't think it does depend on the industry. I would say it does depend on the keyword. So if you're researching a keyword and you want to see what kind of content is already out there with that keyword or with similar keywords, if you find shorter pieces of content, then it's okay to go shorter. If you find longer pieces of content, then go longer. But again, Google likes those ultimate guide style posts where you cover everything there is to cover on a given topic, which I would say, again, is more important than the word count. Are you covering everything there is to cover in that piece of content, so that no matter what aspect of that area people are looking for, they're going to find the information in your blog post? And then that makes it super shareable, because you can break it up and distribute it, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, wherever.
That's a lot of content.
It is. I know.
That's a lot of content.
I know.
Every single week, I would feel like, what am I would be able to provide that much expertise in week after week after week.
That's where
we need you.
That's where you need me. Yeah, that's where knowing your target audience comes in and what kinds of things they're searching for. I do have a whole other presentation I can give on how to come up with blog post topics. But yeah, any updates to your industry, and obviously I don't have a problem with that. There are always updates to my industry. But any changes that you can think of, those are always really good.
I'm going to jump in real quick though and say this. Allison does blog and content work for me. When she gives me something, it's usually so well researched that I can pull a portion of it out, massage it a little bit, and so out of one of her posts, I can probably get 2 blog posts and a video. Okay, so that's how we can, do it and spread it out.
Okay.
Yeah, repurpose the content as much as you can to really get the most out of it.
You mean repurpose your content that you?
Yeah. Either one.
Either way.
Either one. The content that's going up on your blog, regardless of who's writing it, you should absolutely be repurposing it and putting it everywhere.
But do you have to post some references and all that?
I mean, if you're sharing your own content, then no. If you are referencing data from another website or from a book, then yeah, you should absolutely cite that. That gets you those juicy backlinks, which is good for SEO. It's also just good for people who are going, what do you mean there are 4 million blog posts being published every day? Like, where did you get that information? Well, I got it over here. So it gives you that credibility. Yes, Regina?
How long can you repurpose your content? Like, if I have a blog post that has a 2018 date on it, is it still worth it to repurpose that? Or at a point you just go, all right, I'm not going to repurpose stuff that's over so many years old?
It depends on the topic. As long as the topic is still relevant, again, I have a ton of blog posts on my blog that I'm not going to repurpose because they're not relevant anymore. But I also have a fair number of topics that are still relevant and are still getting traffic. And I've actually been known to, recently I've had a busy couple of weeks. I haven't had a chance to write my blog posts. I took some older ones that were like a year or so old and just republished them. And Google treats that just like new content. It's got a new date. As far as Google's concerned, it's a brand new blog post. Just make sure to take it down, unpublish it, and then republish it with the new publication date. So yeah, as long as the topic is still good and still relevant, you can use that as many times as you want. Yes, Jennifer.
I question. I use Squarespace for my website, and I keep getting conflicting information on whether it's good or not for SEO and stuff like that. But would you recommend, if we haven't started a blog, because I think that's something we're in the process of doing, to start maybe just on WordPress? Is there a way to like link them together, or do you just recommend doing everything through Squarespace?
Yes, you can link them together, I think. I know I can link it on WordPress because I have 2 WordPress websites that are linked together. I'm pretty sure you can do it on Squarespace as well, where you create a page and then you put it up in your menu. And when people click on that in your menu, they go to the other website. So yeah, you could have a page that says blog, and instead of going to your website, or, you know, it's your other website.